of a resume building session, and my own resume itself is not very attractive because if people are listening to what you are and probably reading about um, reading about what you are going to talk about yourself, there should be something that really interesting about you, so that you remain in people's memory, and then subsequently they take action on that. So keep that always in mind, because you need to be interesting. Whenever something is spoken about you, or when somebody is going to your resume, you need to be, it needs to be interesting, it needs to be unique, so that it remains in their memory. I just wanted to start with a small passage that is there. I do not know how many of you read books, but there's a book called A Whole New Mind by Dan Pink. And in this, he talks about three A's, which are going to impact the job market. One is Asia, because all the jobs are moving to Asia because of the population and also the knowledge that we have. So that's advantageous, fantastic. The second is automation. And automation, everywhere, probably 10 years back, so many things that we were doing manually has now been automated. And in the last 2 years, COVID has actually hastened all the automation. In fact, my 70-year-old mom, who has been averse to doing e-commerce shopping, is now very convenient. And I could see the bank statement, every now and then there is an Amazon or a Flipkart entry that is there, and I see that she's been shopping. She's become extremely comfortable. So automation is the key. There's a lot of jobs that people would lose on automation, and also jobs would be created. And the third thing, which is extremely important, is abundance. So keep this in mind always, because this abundance has really troubled a lot of decision making. And I'll give you a very, very small example. I don't know, probably I mean, all you people should be very young, maybe 20, 25 years. You can ask your parents if they have to buy a car. The decision is very simple. If you have bigger budget, you buy Ambassador car. If you have less budget, you buy a Maruti 800 car. There were no other choices that we had. It was decision making was very simple. And today, imagine that you want to buy a car, and first you assume that, okay, I have some 7-8 lakhs of budget, and then you start fishing for various catalogs and all those things to see which car you should buy. And finally, you're not confident saying if you are taking the right decision, because there is abundant choices that are available to you. Maybe you will decide on a certain brand, and suddenly your friend will come and say tomorrow, saying that, hey, you know what, this has got this feature, you should buy this, etc. So ultimately what happens is there is no confidence within us to take a decision and make sure that our decision is right. And if you're not able to relate to a car, look at mobile phones. Okay, if you fix a budget for a mobile phone, there are phenomenal amount of options that you have, which is really troubling our decision making. Bring it to the job market, and particularly the stage that you are all in. So and whenever there is an opening, or probably somebody comes for a campus recruitment, all of you would be similar. I finished higher secondary, 3 years of graduation, this mark, that mark, and all those things. And look at the plight of a HR manager who's going through all the profile. There's no difference. And because of abundant this thing, if you're not going to differentiate, you're not going to grab the attention of anybody, and you are not going to be part of the decision making at all. So keep this in mind, because abundance has really hampered the decision making skills that we have, because we have started doubting our own skill, our own decision making skills, because of the amount of variety that is available. So with this as the premise, I would want to get into the session as to why resume building is become extremely important. Okay, so, and because that is the first thing that somebody sees about you, HR manager sees your resume first, even before seeing you. That is extremely important. So first is a career direction, because finding your first job gives you the career direction. and we start our first job without any experience, and that is what sets our career. So it's extremely important to start our career direction, and the first important step is finding your first job. And the challenge in that is, I do not have experience. I do not know how to get my first job as I do not have experience. This is the biggest challenge, because today, if you pass out of your college, everybody's resume would look similar, and there would not be any difference in terms of your resume and your classmates resume, or probably a batchmate. Everything would look similar. Maybe the marks would differ, but at some point of time, marks are more of a filtering criteria than a selection criteria. So that is non-negotiable. So for a selection criteria, there is something more that you need to do to grab the attention of your hiring manager. So where do we start building your resume? So first and foremost, you basically need to look at, I call this as a career decision chart. You need to prepare a career decision chart for yourself. And this is a very first step that you need to do, irrespective of whatever course that you do. You have to find out where your passion is. If you have a flair for writing, probably you should look at copywriting. If you have a flair for maths, you should look at a statistical career, or a artificial intelligence or a machine learning career. I don't want to talk about various careers here, but look at what is your passion. And while you identify what your passion is, you also find out what are all the skills that are needed to basically, become an expert in the area of where your passion can help you grow or build a career. And third thing is what people will pay you to do. Because if you have a passion for something and if you develop a skill and nobody wants to pay you for that, you're not going to get any career out of it. Definitely, you get a lot of satisfaction, etc., by doing things that you love. But at the same time, we are looking at building a career. So it's extremely important. The intersection of your passion, skill, and the opportunity is what is your job market. So the more, you look at intersecting your skill and passion and look at the opportunity, the more all these actually come together, and that is where you get a great career and then grow in your career. So when you build your resume or when you're building your career, find out what are my passions, list out your passion, and which is what I'm, in a very simple English, I've said what you enjoy doing. If you typically take my career, I started off as a techie, but then I realized that my mojo is in meeting people. Okay, so then I said, okay, I'm going to become a HR manager or probably get a career in HR. And meeting people is not just about human resources, it's also about sales, because I have to influence people. So then I said, okay, let me have tech behind and use it as my leisure activity, and then move into HR. Probably, nobody taught me what this career decision chart is. It took me like 10 years for me to really understand into my career, saying that, HR is my passion. But then I did have to do the work. I'll probably talk to you later when we speak about resume building. But it's extremely important to understand what your passion is, and then grow the skills accordingly. And where does all this, culminate together, and look at the opportunity as well. In fact, very interestingly, this morning, I was talking to, a doctor. She just completed her MBBS, and I was asking her, what PG do you want to do? She was saying that, probably radiology or bariatric surgery. Those are the things that I want to do. I basically asked her why. Because radiology is now become very important, because there are a lot of cancer and all those things that are coming up. There is wide opportunity, and bariatric is also become extremely lucrative now, because a lot of people are going for lifestyle surgeries and all those things. So if you typically look at the way that this girl has taken this decision, okay, she's already built the skill and she wanted to get into surgery, and then, okay, what will people pay me? Will people pay me? What is the large opportunity that I have, so that I can get an easy career? So that's how she chose this. And from your career perspective and your field, look at where the opportunity is, etc. And it's fairly simple for you to find out where it is, because you need to be in touch with the industry and also read a lot. And that's how you will get insights about these things. And if you are clear about this, next thing that I want to talk about is any resume has to have two very important things, particularly at your stage. Let me not, at this moment, and I'm going to talk only about somebody who's trying to get a job fresh. So one is transferable skills, the other one is internships. So while I spoke to you about your marks and all those things, those are all filtering criteria, because of abundance. Some company may say, we will only take people who have got aggregate of more than 70% or 7 or 8, whatever, however your college scores. So that, if you score less than that, it becomes a filtering criteria, but rather not a selection criteria. But then transferable skills and internships. And just keep in mind, nobody is going to give you a job just for sake of giving a job. You need to solve a problem that they already have. And it's extremely simple. They need to make money out of the services that you offer. For example, if you want to be a copywriter, if you want to be a coder, the codes that you write, they in turn have to sell it to a customer and they have to make money. And only when they make money, they can pay you. So if you are a fresh grad, how do you differentiate? Okay, and how do they make sure that you will be useful to them? And that is where your transferable skills and internships come into play. And for the time being, I don't think I need to explain what internships are. But then transferable skills, just hold on for the time being. Let me explain what transferable skills is in a moment. Okay, so I call this as a 3-step approach, and I'm just taking the transferable skills alone. I call this as a 3-step approach. What is transferable skills is something that you have already exhibited in your college or while your studies in school or college, which can be readily used at the workplace. So and these transferable skills need no experience at all. You don't have to work in a corporate to share your transferable skills. And it's very easy for you to show them what you have done. And then it's also very simple for you to explain why these skills can help you at the workplace and can help you become more productive. So this is the 3-step approach that I call when you are talking about transferable skills. So just to give you an example as to what transferable skills are with the same 3-step approach, imagine that, rather not imagine, in any corporate you go or in any job that you join, one of the very significant skill that is needed is teamwork. You need to work with a lot of other team members. You need to have interpersonal skills, etc. And everybody says that I have interpersonal skills. I'm good. I'm a good team worker, so on and so forth. But then, if you just put it in English, it remains as English. So you need to say, show you have worked as a team. For example, the office bearers in this Rotaract Club, they have exhibited leadership skills. They have exhibited teamwork, etc. And it's extremely important for you to mention, saying that, I've been the president of Rotaract Club of WCC. I've been the, secretary of, Rotaract Club of WCC, or it could be any other association that you may have in your college. So don't just mention that, I'm a president. I used to be the president of WCC, Rotaract Club of WCC, but you should also mention as to why you believe that this is one of the very important things that need to be in your resume, by saying that, I conducted some 40 events, I coordinated with speakers, who are in corporate, I used to do invitations, I do design work, I submit reports, so on and so forth. So when you mention that is when your resume becomes interesting, because you are showing them that you have worked as a team. But many times what I see in resumes is they just mention, I'm captain of college volleyball team, president of NSS, or I do not know if there is a president, but I've been involved with NSS and I've been a coordinator in NCC, or I've been to the Republic Day parade in NCC, etc. Yes, certain things can be easily understood, but many times it is in the way that you're articulating as to why you believe that this particular sentence need to be in your resume. And that is what I meant, saying that explain that you can fit in very quickly. So what should you do for that? You need to do a little bit of analysis about the work, or probably the company that you're applying for. So this is also part of the research. I'm sure all of you know that Nike's tagline is "Just do it." Imagine that you're applying for Nike. So the only thing that your resume should have is where it is all about action, where you've taken action, where it talks about passion, so on and so forth. The moment the hiring manager reads your resume, all that they need to think is, hey, you know what? I've seen this somewhere. They need to relate to your resume. So every time you're applying, the one big mistake that everybody does, it's not only about freshers, even experienced people do is, they just write one resume and keep it forever. And the biggest update that I would see is, okay, if they have done some projects, are probably the tenure. Only these two things that they would change. But you need to tune it to the dream job that you want to get. For example, if you are probably applying for, say, a Tata company, you need to look at, okay, they more talk about value system and all those things. So your resume also should contain such things. So that is what is extremely important. And tune your resume every time. And believe me, first few times it will be very, very it will be a very tedious work, but after that you will really start enjoying. And also remember that when you do so much homework, and when you're selected, or when you're going for the next round where you're meeting a hiring manager, you are going to talk a language that they have been talking at their workplace. And then the moment they relate to you, you're going to, you are sure to land a job with them. And this is what I talk about transferable skills. Look at the kind of transferable skills that you have, what you acquired. And don't just limit it to your college. It could be, while, you are doing some extracurricular activity. It could be with respect to academy. It could be some non-profit that you're associated with. It could even be, your apartment association where we are doing some fabulous job. Because we discount all these a lot of time. But also remember that when you are mentioning all these, when you're sitting for an interview, most of the conversation is going to be on things which you have mentioned in your resume, in which you are absolutely conversant. And the second thing is, while objectives, I studied in WCC, all those things will be same. The differentiator comes only in this, and your resume becomes extremely interesting. So, while, I feel free to stop. Sorry. Was that a question for me?
I don't think so. I think someone had unmuted by accident.
Okay, fair enough. So no problem at all. And so feel free to stop me if you have any questions. I'll be very glad to answer. And if you make it interactive, I'll be able to share more. A lot of my experience as well, because as a hiring manager, I've seen a lot of resumes, both from fresh people and experienced people as well. And I've been involved in quite a lot of campus recruitments as well. I'll really be able to share my experience, and otherwise it will just be, something that I would talk from my presentation, right? So,
Sir, I'm sorry, I have a question. So
okay.
this is sort of specific to my situation, but the thing is I have a lot of experience in one field, but
Okay.
I am planning to do my graduation in an entirely different field.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering, how can I structure my resume to show that, even if my experience isn't exactly the relevant to the masters that I'm doing for, it's still quite useful, because what I did in my internships was spread across many fields.
Okay. So may I know who was that? If you can let me know the name, I'll feel more happy to connect and talk.
Yeah, this is Bharati, sir.
Okay. So Bharti, it's very simple. While you have done your internship in various fields, etc., there must be some pulling factor for you to have chosen this particular internship. And there may be 10 things that you did, but you may have to amplify one or two things that are extremely important for your next step. So that is something that you need to decide. And again, you need to go back to your passion, skill, and opportunity as well. Because I'm sure that you're not going to do a PG in something where you do not have a passion. And ideally, your passion and skill need to have matched in the internship. If it is not, but at least find, because even in that internship that I do, that sometimes you may not have got an opportunity in that, but within that organization, there may be people who are doing that. While it may be too late if you have already completed the internship now, but it is always in our smartness to figure out what is that department doing. Let me give you one example, probably very similar to what you are going through. There was one boy who was doing his engineering, and he wanted to get into HR, and what he did is, but then for the sake of his project, he had to do only a technical project. So he joined my organization to do a technical internship, and there was no scope beyond that. But what he did is, he spent adequate time just to finish his internship on the technology based work that he was allocated. But he actually tagged him with the other HR folks, trying to learn what they were doing, etc. And when he presented this, he said that I took an additional responsibility of HR, and then explained it as well. So that is how you need to make it relevant. I hope I answered your question, Bharti.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And so moving on, I call this as a 5-point career development model. Okay. So this 5-point career development model is extremely important throughout your career, because this is what would help you analyze where you stand and what you should do next. So this is a cyclic this thing. It doesn't start somewhere and end somewhere. So probably, at the stage that you are in, start with a self-assessment. And self-assessment is where you are going to think, okay, what is my passion, so on and so forth. Let me give you my own personal example. I said I identified that HR has been one of, I found HR to be my passion. So how did I find that? Okay, in my, I said I identified it 10 years into my career. So in this 10 years, I basically segregated that into times where I was rated well by the company, or when I enjoyed, etc. And those were like, a bar graph that I got. And there were times that I was having a tough time. I was not really enjoying the job. And I could see the delta. So where did I enjoy? Okay, these are times when I had a lot of interaction with people. These are times when I had challenges. I love challenges. So these are times that I had challenges. So I made a self-assessment saying that these are things that I would enjoy. These are things that I would not do. And you may say that, sir, it was easier for you because you had already worked 10 years, and it was very easy for you to identify. In fact, there was one decision that I took even before I started my career. So, see, I've been very good with making presentations, being creative, and all those things, but I hated numbers. So even when I started my career, whenever I see an Excel sheet, I kind of nauseate. But then Word and PowerPoint used to be extremely, I used to like those very much. Then I realized that anywhere where I used to do some analysis, etc., it is always going to be tough. And till today, I've not got into, while I've taken many roles, I've never stepped into anything related to finance, but because that is something that I really don't enjoy. And I just wanted to quote one incident, rather not incident, one important milestone that happened in my career as well. So, I wanted to start my company in 1997. I started my first company. In 1999, I went broke. I was like, the company grew very well, and then fell down. And when I did a post-mortem as to why I failed, the biggest reason being I was not enjoying finance. So how will I solve the problem? I mean, if I want to continue my business, there are two ways. I need to get somebody who's extremely good in finance, and that's why I married one. So that she became part of my company and she started taking care of finance. And the second thing is I avoided roles where I need to work with numbers because I was not enjoying this. And always keep this in mind. Why I'm stressing on this point again and again is, imagine that you have certain strengths and you have certain weaknesses. And where you have strengths, even if you apply a little bit effort, you will be able to do some awesome job. But imagine the place where you are not enjoying. Even if you put strenuous effort on that, you only reach mediocrity. And now you decide where you should spend your time in, whether it should be in the place where you have your strengths or growing your weakness. Always spend time in where your strengths are. You can always complement with people where your weaknesses are, and then don't hesitate to say, I will enjoy this, but here I'll only be mediocre, because many times we get stressed because we are not able to reach a certain level in places where we really do not enjoy. So always identify what is your strengths and what is your weakness. That's what I talk about, self-assessment. And I also touched upon personal commitment. So personal commitment comes on spending time on your strengths, because many times we enjoy doing what we are strong in. We actually don't spend time on that. But believe me, it is worthwhile spending time on that, because even if you spend a little bit effort, the results will be much more. Make a personal commitment saying that, I'm becoming 1% better than what I was in the chosen strengths that I have from yesterday. And the third is roadmap, and it's extremely important, because unless and until you know what your destination is, you will believe that whatever path that you take, is the right path. For example, let's imagine that from morning we start driving from Chennai, right? And I keep driving, I reach Vellore, and then I go to Tirupattur, etc. At 6 p.m., I look at my kilometers, speedometer, and say, oh wow, I've traveled 300 kilometers. The effort is still the same. But if I want to reach Bangalore, if I have reached somewhere in Salem, it is not my destination. I've still put the same effort, but I've not reached the destination. So it's extremely important for you to have a roadmap. And when I say roadmap, you may be intrigued, saying that, hey, I'm a fresher. What roadmap you want me to put? In fact, I wanted to quote, an example that, one of your classmates just asked me a question saying that I want to do this PG. That is a roadmap. What do I want to do next? What is it? Figure out a dream job. Saying that, I want to work in Google, I want to work in, Amazon, whatever it could be, whatever your dream job is. And believe me, set that as a target and say, what do I need from here to go there? What are all the things that I need? Start building that roadmap, and that is what will take you there. And we're all very good in planning. At the same time, you need to act on it, because even if you ask any entrepreneur, they would have put a lot of business plan and all those things. And why quote entrepreneurs? I'm sure you still remember your school life. When you are in your 10th standard or 12th standard, there will be a study holidays for a month. And on day one, we'll put a nice calendar and timetable saying that, okay, day one, I'm studying this chapter in physics, magnetism in physics, organic chemistry, that, every day one chapter. And by 10th day, I will finish everything. And day one, your friend comes and saying that, hey, let's go to Phoenix Mall. And you will say, okay, fine, I still have 29 days. Sunday, anyway, I've given as holiday. I will catch up on these subjects on that particular day where you're given a holiday. And see that, the roadmap is fantastic, but we don't act on it. And finally, it will be last 1 week, we'll scramble with our book. And on the day of the exam, that in that morning is when you'll wake up at 4 a.m. and read a lot. It's just not you. Generations, we have just done that. Even I have done that when I was in school. But some people who have really acted on it are the ones who have got very good marks, etc. So, always take action. And last is self-reflection, because many times we do an assessment and then, we don't reflect on it. And then it's a cycle. Do a self-reflection saying that, hey, am I really enjoying this? You may have taken an internship because of peer pressure, saying that, hey, your friend is doing this internship, let me also do the same thing, etc. But then you will do it, maybe it's for credits or some marks, etc. But then are you really enjoying it? So is this really you want? Have this as small cycles in your life, and believe me, it will really help you in terms of tuning the way that you want your career to be. And believe me, when you do so much exercise on your own self, your resume would look very, very rich. And remember that there are transferable skills. Talk about your internship, and in that internships also you need to talk about what are all the skills that you acquired which may potentially be useful in your work environment. So keep that always in your mind, saying that I'm going to recruit you only when I believe that you will add value to my organization. If you're not going to add value to my organization, I'm not going to recruit you. I'm not bothered about hearing from you saying that I did this awesome internship and all those things. If it is not going to be useful to my organization, it is useless. So that is why I'm saying that do research and figure out the role that you're going to applying for, and make sure that all these are mentioned in your resume. And see, in fact, now it's become even more simpler. Look at your resume as a website, and then look at the HR manager or hiring manager as somebody who comes and searches in Google. So if I search for something, if your resume has to pop up, which means that it needs to have the right kind of words in your resume. Do you have all those? And the same thing, look at, if I search for say BSc Maths grads from WCC, there may be 100 or 200 resumes that will come up. But if I specifically say, okay, WCC, teamwork, good in communication, etc., then it gets filtered. So look at it like an SEO. I do not know how many of you know about search engine optimization, but don't bother about it. It is just that you're going and searching in Google, and then what comes on top. If your resume has to come on top, use the right words. And for that, you also have to do a little research about the organization and say, this is what they will search in the resume, and these words are there. At the same time, just because they search for those words, don't try to put those words, because that's not going to be useful to you. Always be as truthful as possible, because transparency and honesty would always help in getting a lot of appreciations and career as well. Okay, that's about the 5-point career development. And see, this by itself is a vast subject, but I wanted to very quickly touch upon this in terms of giving you a framework for writing your resume. Now you've done all your research, and you've got some pages and pages about you saying that, okay, I did this, I did that, etc. But who's got the time to read all those? Nobody's got the time to read a big passage or a big paragraph, etc. So you need to really be very creative and crisp in terms of telling your hiring manager, saying that this is what this is what is important in your profile. Okay, so that way, I would want to say that 3 important things in your resume is your content, definitely, because unless and until you have content, it is not going to be interesting at all. Length and the structure. So when I say content, okay, you've done enough research about the content. Length, keep it very crisp. So even for somebody who's experienced, a 1-pager is if you can get something done in 1 page, believe me, that is going to be very, very nice. Don't try to put everything and make it like 5 pages or so, because nobody's got the patience to read the last page. But try to be very creative, probably using graphs, colors, pictures, so on and so forth, and making it the right length. And then the structure, follow a structure in terms of how, they will read it, etc. What is important? For example, we all write saying that, our name first, and then we put our address, etc. Why would a hiring manager be bothered about your address? Because that's the last thing that they'll, okay, once your resume fits their requirement, then finally they will get into an address and say, okay, you are in Chennai, or you are in Bangalore, or you are in Delhi, fine, let's recruit, etc. So it's your smartness in ensuring that what needs to be read first has to be on top. And then I don't want to prescribe any structure here, because as I told you, it depends on company to company. For example, as I spoke to you about, Nike. If you're going to apply for a job in Nike, always talk about, okay, I'm passionate about this. I mean, how you take action, so on and so forth. I'll give you a small tip. So I do this even when I'm applying for a job, or even when I'm submitting a proposal for business. So I go through their website, kind of see the words that they use, and see if I can use all those words in my resume or my proposal. So naturally, when they have done the copywriting, their mission statement and all those things, look at that, they'll be very, very familiar with that. Okay, for example, if you take my company's tagline, we call it as lofty goals and happy people, right? So if I see a resume which talks about, I've got great ambition, I'm so happy, this, that, etc., I can relate. I can very happily relate to it. If I'm recruiting a manager, if somebody talks saying that, I take care of them, I take care of my people very well, they are very important, etc., it resonates with me, because that is our value system. So make sure that you do the research and follow a structure based on that. So content is extremely important, which you already researched using your 5-point career approach. Think about the abundance that you have, because you're going to compete with so many people who are similar to you, and then look at how well you have established your transferable skills. Though you may not talk it as talk this as, say, I have transferable skills, etc. But then you have to subtly talk about, okay, these are the skills. And I believe that, working in your, say, quality assurance team, it's very important that I need to pay attention to detail. So you have to quote something that you have done in your life, saying where your attention to detail have really been appreciated. I'll probably get a letter of recommendation as well, saying that, okay, this candidate's attention to detail is extremely important. So a quality assurance job, attention to detail is extremely important. If you want to be a developer, problem solving skills are extremely important. If you want to be a HR person, your people skills are extremely important. The way you're listening, the way you're talking, how good you are with people, so on and so forth. So that's about framework for writing your resume. And then finally, okay, what should be there? Background, because that's extremely important. When I say background, it's not about, okay, my family is this, I'm from an agriculture family, my father is this, my mother is this, and all those things. Believe me, nobody would be interested about it in your resume. Definitely during interview, there may be a question about it, but in the resume, do not waste the real estate by mentioning things which may not be relevant to your the job that you are applying. So talk about your background, and when in your background, mention about whatever you accomplish. It could be the college marks, so on and so forth. Then the skills that you acquired. It could be academic. It could also be from the internship that you have done. And then finally, accomplishment, because people, any organization would be happy to have winners. They really want people who have accomplished, because you have to constantly be accomplishing. And a lot of companies, except for the non-profit, everybody is there only to make money. So, and there also you need to go and accomplish. So extremely important to mention your accomplishment. And if you can mention your accomplishment based on the transferable skills, it is going to be extremely relevant, because it's going to be useful for them. I do not know. For example, you can say that maybe you are a Bharatanatyam dancer and had an Arangetram when you are 8 years old, etc. I do not know if it would be relevant for all the jobs, but definitely, if you are applying for a HR position, it's extremely important because, you've gone to the stage, you don't have fear of handling people, etc. So look at what is relevant in the accomplishments that you have done. You need not glorify it, but write it in the words that the hiring manager would love to hear. So with this, I would want to complete my session. So if there are any questions, I'll be very glad to answer. In case you are shy like me to ask in a forum like this, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be very glad to guide you in terms of how to write your resume or even help you write your resume. And that would be a pleasure for me. So any questions?
Thank you, sir. Your session was filled with little anecdotes and insights on resume building from a HR's perspective. And this session has helped us understand how to optimize our resumes to suit the job market. And now I think we are opening for questions. Either you can unmute and ask the question, or you can post the question in the chat box. Yes, Avantika. Okay. Meanwhile, anyone else would like to ask a question? So I think one of the questions that I got was, how important is it to optimize your LinkedIn or any professional forum to suit, to replicate what you want in the job market?
Okay. See, LinkedIn is a totally different game altogether because, okay, so see, when you are doing your LinkedIn profile, that goes with your roadmap that you're talking about. I was speaking about. Imagine that, you want to join, say, Amazon. Okay. So see, today it's very easy for you to get connected with a hiring manager in Amazon. And once you see them, what kind of posts that they do, what they like, etc. See, let me give you a very interesting example that, I mean, maybe it's slightly different, but I think you can probably relate. So what happened was I wanted a internship for, in a very leading automobile company. So the easiest thing is, this company is a very traditional organization, a regular brick and mortar organization, and they have their own, they have their own processes, etc. So getting internship was very difficult. But if you know somebody in the leadership position, it's very easy for you to get, this thing. So somebody approached me saying that, this boy approached me saying that, how would I get it? So I just told him saying that go research, we identified one of the leadership person in that company. I asked them to basically track this person for a week or so, and then identify that this person is attending a training program, which is a generic training program in the next 1 week. So this boy, what he did is he also enrolled into the training program, went and sat next to him in the training program, and it was a day-long program, built his relationship. And then, in LinkedIn, he was sharing things that they started sharing. And after 1 week, he kind of said, can you help me with the internship? And believe me, he got the internship, which was difficult 1 month back. So I think when you do such things, then LinkedIn becomes very interesting because, if you have a target in mind, you can use LinkedIn to do it. I think I have some questions on the chat. Let me see. Sir, nowadays the applicant tracking system is used everywhere. How does keyword optimization work for soft skills? Okay. So see, Avantika. Okay. Avantika, it's a very good question because right now, again, it's an abundance issue. So there are a lot of resumes that are coming, and hiring managers are finding it very difficult to shortlist profiles. So ATS looks at the keywords that are there in your profile, and then and then selects or rejects the system, now with artificial intelligence and all those things. So how does keyword optimization work for soft skills? Okay, again, you have to go down to the research for this particular role, what is extreme level. For example, I was talking about quality assurance. For quality assurance, um, attention to detail is extremely important. So look at whatever things that are important and try to mention that in your resume. I think that's the best way for you to beat or rather, I wouldn't say beat or cheat, but then accept your resumes. Again, it is all boils down to the research that you're doing. In terms of the research, see, one very easy example that I give is, look at the job description, and the job description will have the right kind of keywords. And look at the job description and decipher what are all the soft skills that are needed for this particular job, and make sure that those words are there in your resume as well. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Okay. Avantika, did I answer your question? Okay. Read the job description, understand the job, understand what soft skills are extremely important, and try to use the same words, that are there in the job description, and use those words in your resume. And that's why I'm saying that your resume is a living document. It can't be made once and used forever. Keep changing it every time you apply. Look at the job description, because we ignore the job description, and look at it because you will very clearly tell what are all important. And always go in the priority, because the company will tell what is important to them in the first place. And the last one, you may have the last one, but then the first one is what is important. So, if somebody asks you, what do you like, or probably what food you like, you always tell what you like first, right? And then you may tell 4 or 5 things. But then what is top of the mind is what comes first. So job description is the biggest this thing. Priya, you told about the structure. We can change by framing important things first. So there is a format for resume. Will there any problem if we change the format? Not at all. Not at all. You feel free to use a format. I will be very happy if you don't use a ready-made format, because as I told you, I get bored the moment I see the 10th resume, which talks about, and particularly when I go to colleges, I see the objective is copied, everything is copied, and, it's the same thing. So it is your resume. So do it the way that, you wanted to. And the resume should represent you. If you're colorful, make it colorful. So show your character in your resume. That's extremely important. Don't bother about stereotypes. Don't bother about any cliches and all those things. Customize your resume in the way that you want. Be as creative as possible, and that's when you can beat the abundance. So please do not follow any format, and particularly when you are just applying from a college, if you use a format, your friend will come and say, share the format. You can't say no. They'll feel bad if you don't share it. And imagine 10 people going with the same kind of format. They will also get fatigue. So, get the structure, make it like a story. See, it's all story, right? It's a story of your life. So, you watch a movie, and you come and comment saying that, oh, editing is bad. This is, it should have come first. It should have come first. And there are places where it gets dragged. So read your resume, give it to your friend and say, hey, what does it tell about me? If they are able to tell what you really meant in your mind, believe me, that's how, others will also think. But always nice to show it to somebody who do not know you. It could be, because the moment somebody knows me, they know that, okay, hey, Venky does this kind of session. He's a techie turned HR and all those things, because they will start having a bias. So if you don't want any of those bias, and ask them to read it, and that's when you will know what are all the blind spots that you have in your resume. But enjoy this process. That's what I wanted to leave you all with. Enjoy the whole process. Don't do it as a formality. It is a story about you. And if you are not able to write your own story, distinct your own self, so that, I take happiness when I read my profile saying that, oh, okay. So, and if it is not interesting, it won't be interesting in mind. So, there are available on the net, but to make it as creative as possible, and that's what I would want to say. Creativity, is always appreciated.
I got one final question. A student asked me that she has never done any internships,
Fantastic.
but positions. So
what are all the transferable skills that you have got from your leadership skills? And believe me, see, internships are nothing but, in an environment, you are exposed to certain skills and certain, activities, right? And being a president of Rotary Club of WCC is also one kind of internship. And see, and in fact, if you've been in a sports team, there can't be any better internship than that, right? You know about winning, you know about losing, you know about what motivation is. I mean, there are enough stories that we pick only from sports. So don't discount on any of those. So see, and the other thing that you need to keep in your mind is, see, there is no hard and fast rule saying that, okay, you've done internship, okay, you get 50 points, okay, you've done this, etc. Ultimately, it is all about the individual in you and how much you can be useful. And if your leadership skills that you have exhibited in that would be helpful in the workplace, don't bother about internships, etc. Because again, I don't want to give a motivation this thing. If you believe you can't, you are true. If you believe you can, you are true as well. So these are all words here and there. Don't bother about till you can exhibit that you have genuinely done it, and this is what you've gained it. So probably one easier way to put it across is, okay, I used to be the president of the Rotary Club of my college. I still remember the day that I became a president, and I wanted to be the president, and I so longed to be the president. The day I was collared, I'm sure all the Rotractors would know, installation would happen and the president would be collared, etc. On the day I was collared, I need to give an acceptance speech. And today I look at all you people and I envy you people, because, I took the collar and I went and stood in front of the podium, and it was evening 4 p.m. That's when the installation happened, in those good old days of physical meetings. So, I had prepared a nice acceptance speech. Believe me, I did not even get a word out of my mouth on that particular day. And I just stood for 1 minute without even uttering a word. And my professor prompted me saying that, Venky, wish them all good evening. I said, good evening. That's all. Only 2 words came. And again, a 30-second silence. And then my professor again prompted me saying that, say thank you. I said, thank you. And then I came and sat. Believe me, this is what was my first ever stage presence. And then by the end of my tenure, I forced myself to talk, etc. And today, and that is what I represent. And believe me, I got my first job because I was the president of Rotary Club of, my college. And one of the Rotarians recruited me. And you will be surprised. He recruited me because I was very good with people. I can talk to people, etc., which was not there when I started my tenure as a president of Rotary Club. So I did mention that in my resume, saying that, this is the transition that, this position gave me. And I landed in my first job. And believe me, They were not even willing to wait for my results. I joined probably within a week after my last final year exam. So don't bother about internships and all this till you can document that this is the skill that I've got. Because see, learnability is an extremely important skill, and every opportunity, have you used that opportunity very well? What did you learn from it? And that's extremely important for any organization, because be it technology, be it anything, it's going exponentially. Okay. What was relevant like 2 years back is no more relevant now. So, but unfortunately, the human mind cannot grow exponentially. But then you just have to give a confidence to your hiring manager, saying that we can invest on her, and she would take up any role, and she would learn anything. And that's an extremely important commitment that you need to make, and that is something that you need to impress upon the hiring manager. So don't bother about internship till you can say, hey, you know what, I was a president, I learned these things. I was X, I became X plus 1. I was Y, I became Y plus 1. Till you can document that, believe me, every experience is extremely important.